Yes.
Present. Okay, thanks. Okay, so we'll just start. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padahan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Vishimheti Namani Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayatim Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram. Okay. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavatir naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam sukha mukhad amrita dravya samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Okay, so we are continuing with chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit Saved. That was the title of the chapter. So we just recap a little. So this is the second part of the chapter, which we are trying to discuss. It's quite a long, I hope we can try to finish it by 8:30. But somehow I doubt it. Anyway, so recapping, if you remember, the early part was we talked about the Pandavas' grief. So why the grief? So this was at the end of the Mahabharata war, after the punishment of Dronacharya's son Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama tried to kill the children of the Pandavas, right? So and then one once all that was settled, they finally want to lay everybody at rest during the Antyeshti ceremony, which is the rites for the departed. So then we discussed a little bit of that, and then in between it was discussed the glories of Ganga Devi. So this is the scenes of, and during Krishna and the sages, gurus, talking about the difference of life and death, and what's the good life and all of this. Can you all hear me? Everything is clear, right? Can you hear me talking? It's clear?
It was breaking a little, but I think you can continue.
Was breaking. Now? Hello, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare, I can hear you.
Okay. So, right. So after the part of the Pandavas grieving, so then we discussed how Krishna establishes Yudhishthira's fame. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he had to perform, immediately Krishna told Yudhishthira Maharaj to perform Ashwamedha sacrifice. So this was to quickly take dominance over the entire kingdom, the entire world mainly. And here a little bit was discussed about how the entire Mahabharata was started, what was the cause. The cause of all those people dying was because of the disturbing of Draupadi's hair. So we discussed a little bit on that. And then just as once the Ashwamedha Yagyas were done with, Krishna was preparing to depart to Dwaraka. And at that time, we saw how Uttara, the wife of Abhimanyu, the granddaughter of Arjuna. Yes. So she came running towards Krishna and telling Krishna, "Oh Krishna, please save me. Pahi pahi Mahayogi Deva Deva Jagatpati Nanyam Tom Apayam Pasye Nanyam Yatra Mrityur Parasparam." Basically, she's saying, please save me from the terrible arrow which is coming, the Brahmastra weapon which was unleashed by Ashwatthama. So we heard about how Lord Krishna immediately saved Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj is the child within the womb of Uttara, and how he saved and the pastime from that. And right after the saving of Parikshit Maharaj, you can imagine the scene, how everyone was so disturbed. Such a horrible act was done. Bala Hitam, basically killing of children, infanticide. This Ashwatthama became mad after losing this war and after being insulted. So therefore, he lost all senses, and Pandavas were completely dismayed that such a act was performed. So in this way, we heard how Parikshit Maharaj was saved, and right after that, Kunti Maharani was overwhelmed. She was overwhelmed with how much Krishna is always there to save the Pandavas. In every aspect, Krishna comes and saves them. How they are so dependent on Krishna. And she started and Lord Krishna with different beautiful prayers. So this is basically the prayers of Queen Kunti. So we discussed this also, how Kunti Maharani approached and the various etiquettes involved on that. And I also mentioned that the prayers of Queen Kunti, we can basically divide it into 3 categories. So like how I mentioned previously also in another chapter, when we offer prayers to the Lord, generally there are 3 parts to the prayers. We don't just directly go to the Lord and say, I want this, I want that, or whatever, please save me. No, there is a protocol. So we saw how Uttara abided by that protocol, and now Kunti is also abiding by that protocol. So we can divide those prayers into 3 categories. The first is, so this is all mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion. how the first part is glorification. So this is called Samprarthanatmika, or very feelingly offering prayers, or in other words, glorification. So this is the part where Kunti is glorifying Krishna. Oh, Krishna, you're so great, you're so wonderful, you're the Lord of the universe, you are eternal time. So like that, she's glorifying him. And the next part of the prayer would be Dainya Vodika. So this is basically humbly submitting oneself. So what does this mean? So first you glorify the Lord, you are so great. Then after that, you tell the Lord, I am so fallen. I am so bereft. I am so dependent on you. So now you're talking about yourself and how you are so connected to the Supreme. How you are so dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So that part of the prayer is called Danya Vodika. So we can also see that later. And then you have the Lala Samayi. Lala Samayi means desiring for something. So this is basically the fruit of the prayer. So Kunti Maharani also has this. She desires something from Krishna. So the difference between pure devotees and materialistic people, that pure devotees never ask for anything material. So that's why the term Lala Samayi, although it's desire, it's not desiring for anything material. It's desiring for something which is transcendental, the perfectional stage. So this Prabhupada says is not a desire at all, actually. It is actually beyond that. It is transcendental. So we can see here I have tried to break down Kunti Maharani's Prarthana. Prarthana means prayer. So how we can understand, because this prayer is quite long. You can see it's from verse 18 all the way to verse 43. So quite a number of verses. And we can understand it better if we can break it into categories, sections. So the first part is basically darshan. So, and it falls under the category of prayers, glorification. So I've tried to color code them. So you can see the blue color code. Wait, let me just pointer pen. So you can see the blue color codes, right? The border of the line is blue. So all of these are glorification prayers. So basically most of it is glorification prayers. And the red part here is the expression of humility of Kunti Maharani. And the Lala Samahi part, which is requesting for something transcendental position, is highlighted here in yellow. So, but another way of categorizing is also based on the section of the prayer. So one is darshan. Then Kunti Maharani talks about how the Lord descends. And then Saranagati, Kunti Maharani is surrendering to the Lord. How she's saying how everything is under the Supreme Lord's shelter. And finally, summary and obeisances which Kunti Maharani prostrates towards the Lord. So let's begin. So Kunti Maharani's Prarthana, he begins with this verse, Namasye Purusam Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakrite Param Alakshyam Sarva Bhutanam Antarbahiravastitam. So she's talking about how Krishna is the supreme original person. Purusham Tvadyam. So Purusha means original supreme person. So Purusham Tvadyam and Ishwaram, controller. So that's the supreme original person. So she's glorifying Krishna as, so she's telling you are this, you are the supreme original person, the Param Brahman. And then she's saying, you know, though you are the supreme person and therefore you are beyond material nature. So you are actually para, you're not matter. So you're beyond the material nature. And because you are beyond the material nature, you are here that is prakrite param, that means beyond material nature. And because you are beyond material nature, you are invisible to all living entities. Alakshyam sarva bhutanam, you are invisible. You cannot, living entities cannot see you. And yet you are antar bahir avastitam. So what does that mean? You are existing everywhere. Antar means, you know, antar bahir. Antar means outside, bahir means inside, avastitam, existing everywhere. Just like how we understand from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is in every atom and also in the space between atoms. So he is everywhere, all pervading. So this is the beginning. So basically, it's a description of Yogeshwara. Krishna is Yogeshwara. But one may ask the question, if he is invisible to all living entities, we cannot see him. Why is it we cannot see him? So that therefore Tunti Maharani puts in the second verse. Maya Javanika Chanam. Why we cannot see him? We already have a hint of that because he is para, material. He is not material, right? He is beyond matter. But here it clearly says Maya Javani Kachanam. Javani Kachanam means curtain. So you are covered by the curtain of Maya. So that's the reason we cannot see you. And you are beyond the material conception, the senses, and you're also unaffected. So you're beyond the senses. And you are not observed by the foolish observer. So Lord to foolish people, 18 people who he mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Fools derive descent in this. So therefore, he has a right to enjoy autumn. So therefore, he was there, present in the Mahabharata during the Treta Yuga, the Dwapara Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. But still, atheistic people like Duryodhana, Shishupal, Dandavakra, all these people could not recognize him as the Parabrahman, as the Purushottama. So because he was covered by the curtain of Maya. So therefore, we can understand why is that so? Because Krishna is actually playing a part. He plays like an actor. So actor dressed as a player. So this is described by Kunti Maharani. Nato natya daro yata. So natya means drama. So he is like a player or an actor in a drama. So when somebody takes a role in a drama, people don't sometimes recognize that person. Oh, they are so engrossed in that particular role, they don't understand that he is actually he is beyond all that. Then the question may also be asked, right? You are supreme, you are powerful, you are beyond matter and everything. And you reserve the right not to show yourself. You're covered by the curtain of Maya. Then the question may be asked, who then can see you? Who is able to actually look at you and understand you? So therefore, the next verse. Tata paramahamsanam, tata paramahamsanam, muninam amalatmanam. So here he's saying, the paramahamsas can see you. You reveal bhaktis of the advanced transcendentalists, the paramahamsas. And you also choose to reveal them by your own mercy to the munis, to the great philosophers and mental speculators, because they are all trying to achieve you, but only with your mercy they can even try to understand even a little bit. So it's so difficult. So Kunti Maharani is trying to say, oh Krishna, you're so great that only great pure devotees can actually see you. And even great munis, they try so hard just to see you, right? Whose minds, and what kind of people are these? These are people whose minds are competent to discern between spirit and matter. So such people can try to understand you. So then she is taking a very humble position. How then can we women know you perfectly? So Kunti Maharani is actually taking a very humble position, and we can understand this scripture by Kunti Maharani is actually representing all of us here in Kali Yuga. Because in Kali Yuga, there are everybody and which are all in the same level. So the men and all, how can we all understand the Supreme Lord? Because advanced munis, paramahamsas, these are the type of people who can actually even glance a vision of you. What to speak of people like us. So Kunti Maharani is actually, she's indirectly, she's glorifying bhakti. Therefore, O sage, because in Vyasadeva, the Munis asked Vyasadeva, therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it to the good of all living beings. He mentions that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the rishis asked Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva therefore says, I have selected all the essence of all these scriptures. And through the explanation of the Mahabharata, by which even women, Shudras and others can see the path of religion. So this is what Vyasadeva has done. He has taken the essence and he has put it in a very palatable way, and he has put it in a very devotional aspect, glorifying the Bhakti Yoga, so that we are able to, even we don't have to be such munis or advanced transcendentalists, we can still take advantage of this. So, but then Vishwanath Chakravarti, he's trying to imagine imaginary position between Kunti Maharani. So Kunti Maharani like this, how saying Kunti Maharani, you are a woman, you understand who I am, and you are glorifying me as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So do you not know who I am? You know, right? So therefore, Krishna reveals, this verse actually from now on talks about the fortune of Ananya Bhaktas. So these are the great fortune of the Ananya Bhaktas. So even better than these munis and mental speculators and all, you can see how people like women, Shudras and all these Vijabandhus, all of them can easily attain Krishna, be such great personalities to understand Krishna, because Bhakti's process is available to everyone. So therefore, Kunti Maharani prays, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devakandhanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Kunti Maharani is praying and she's saying, oh Krishna. So she's remembering, you are the son of Vasudeva. Vasudeva was not a great Muni. He was not a great, so-called in material sense, the great Paramahamsa or whatever. But what was common between Vasudeva, Devaki, and Nanda Maharaj? This is Nanda Gopa Kumaraya. So what is common between all of these people? That all of them could actually, you actually gave them the bliss of your association. So Devaki and Vasudeva knew Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even Vasudeva and Yashoda Maya will occasionally sometimes get a glimpse of his Supreme Personality aspect. But again, Yoga Maya will cover them. So they knew. So what was the common factor? The common factor was devotion, bhakti. So that was basically, Kunti Maharani is trying to glorify bhakti. How Krishna is so munificent that with bhakti, he's allowing all of us to understand. Nama Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangre. So then Krishna, Kunti Maharani continues with these prayers. So, just now's prayer, Krishnaya Vasudevaya, we can try to memorize. It's a very nice prayer when we can, just like when we go to the Lord, before we worship the Lord, we can also follow these three aspects of offering prayer. First, we offer glorification to the Lord. So these are nice prayers which we can memorize and try to glorify the Lord with. Nama Pankaja Nabhaya. So Nama Pankaja Nabhaya basically means Kunti Maharani, she's auntie of Krishna. So, in the Bhagavatam, even though there were so many great devotees of great caliber, none of them, you will notice, actually broke etiquette. All of them would follow the social etiquette, the social convention, and even Krishna followed the social convention. In fact, when Yudhishthira Maharaj will come, Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will bow down to Yudhishthira Maharaj because he does not want to embarrass Yudhishthira Maharaj. Because they are all playing a part, they are all playing a drama. And in Bhagavad Gita himself, Krishna says, I am the Supreme, I have no work to do, but yet I set an example. Because if I don't set an example, then everybody will not follow everything and everything will be ruined. So therefore, in this aspect also, Kunti Maharani, though she is glorifying Krishna as Purushottama, as so many nice, beautiful verses, yet it's interesting to note that she begins this prayer with Nama Pankaja Nabhaya. Nama Pankaja Nabhaya means, O one with lotus navel. That means she is glancing at his waist first. Now, the acharyas have explained that when we worship the Supreme Lord, the deity, we meditate from the feet first. So we begin from the feet, and then we move up to the waist, and then to the chest, and then to the lotus face. So this is the way we do our meditation. So this is the etiquette. But Kunti Maharani is an auntie, Krishna's auntie. So, and therefore she is elder. And you can see how she is still maintaining that social etiquette. She does not say, "Oh, I am transcendental. I am beyond. I am beyond bodily conventions. So therefore, I can directly address the Lord in a suitable manner." No, she still follows. She glances at him at his waist first, and then she moves her eyes upwards. Nama Pankaja Maline, to his chest. So this is where the lotus garland of lotus flowers around his chest. Oh, sorry. Then Nama Pankaja Netraya. So then she looks at the blooming lotus eyes of the Lord. And then just to complete the prayer, she comes back down to his lotus feet. Namaste Pankajangre. So obeisances to your lotus feet. Just to, in the end of it, she puts it. So this is a very nice prayer where we can try to memorize, and we can also say to the deities when we see, before we make our full prayer. So then she continues in verse 23. She's saying, you are so wonderful, Krishna, that you give that, you know how she began the prayers, right? First she says, you are great, you are the supreme. And then she says that you are invisible to normal people. And then she says that those who are devotees, those who are great munis, the great paramamsas, they can see you. And also those who are devotees, they can see you, right? And here she's going further. O Krishikesha, master of the senses and lord of the lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa. And then, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. So basically she is saying, I am more fortunate than even Devaki. Oh Krishna, she's not saying this to glorify herself, that I am greater than Devaki. No, she is overwhelmed with how much Krishna is being so merciful. She cannot take it. So therefore she's crying out, oh Krishna, why are you so merciful to me? Why are you so showing so much of mercy to us? She's basically saying, you saved Devaki, but you didn't save her children, right? But else you saved me and my children. And one can contrast also. Devaki was only having one problem. She was trapped in the prison house, and once she was saved, then everything was settled. She didn't actually have any other problems. Krishna actually left her and went to stay with Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai. So he awarded the childhood pastimes to them. So now similar to the devotees of Gokul. Now Kunti Maharani is saying, we are also so fortunate. We have seen you again and again and again. So many, and each time we see you, you are mainly saving us from constant dangers. So many times you are trying to save us. So basically she's saying that we are so much more fortunate. I am so much more fortunate. I am Bhagyavati. So basically this is the term to show that I am so fortunate. My dear Krishna. So then she continues. She elaborates further. She tries to remember. So this is called Krishna Smaranam. So Smaranam means remembering. So unfortunately in material life, we usually think of the Lord only in times of trouble. So therefore, she's taking a very humble stand, and she's trying to show Krishna how many times we have thought of you. Each time it was always in so many difficult situations. Your Lordship has protected us from so many things. So in this verse, she says, what are the things Krishna has protected us? So Kunti Maharani is starting to remember. She's starting to remember how so long ago you have saved us from poison. So we remember this pastime of Bhima. Bhima, when this is when they were all children. The Pandavas were children. They just recently lost their father, Pandu, and then all of them came and stayed with Dhritarashtra and the Kaurava cousins. And at that time, the Kauravas were always envious of the Pandavas because the Pandavas were always excelling in everything that they were doing. They have not learned martial arts yet. This was still in the primary aspect of childhood. So there was once Bhima was Duryodhana was so envious. He wanted to kill Bhima, and Bhima was just a young child at that time, just less than 12 years old, 10 years old, like that, I think. So there's a pastime behind this. We won't talk about it too much, lest it takes too much time. But basically, he poisoned Bhima because Bhima likes to eat. He likes to eat a lot. So therefore, he invited Bhima for a feast, and he poisoned all the food. And then Bhima, his constitution was so strong that he could somehow resist the poison. He left the feast, and then he was dizzy. And somehow in that dizziness, the Kauravas, they caught him, they tied him. They saw that he was not dying. So they caught him and they tied him and they dumped him into the river, hoping that he will drown. They tied a rock on his feet and dumped him into the river. And when he sank down to the river, particularly what happened was that river, that area, there was a lot of serpents, and these serpents were all trying to bite him as he was sinking. As they were biting him, some of their teeth broke because Bhima's skin was so strong. But nevertheless, some penetrated, and some of this poison actually went into his bloodstream. And it so happened that this poison counteracted the poison which Duryodhana administered to Bhima. In the aspect of homeopathy, we take one poison to counter another poison. So sometimes they cancel themselves off if you are very expert. So this is all by the will of Providence, Krishna's arrangement. So Bhima was saved. So again, this is how Krishna saved Bhima. So Kunti Maharani is remembering how the Supreme Lord was always keeping a palm over them, protecting them from all harm. And then she remembers, you saved us from Maha Agni. The pastime of how they were saved from the burning house of lac. Duryodhana was so envious of the Pandavas that he instructed a house, a summer vacation house made of lac. Inside the walls, it was actually built of very flammable material. And he lured the Pandavas to stay inside this house, and then he set fire. By Krishna's arrangement, Vidura found out about this, and Vidura actually saved them from this by Krishna's arrangement. So here I'm showing you a picture of this tunnel. This tunnel was excavated in somewhere near that the Hastinapura area, Bagpat district of UP, which is the Pandavas' escape tunnel. So this was the escape tunnel which was used by the Pandavas to escape the house of lac. And then Kunti was saying, she's also remembering how you saved us from man-eaters. Purusha Ada. Purusha means man, Ada, eaters. So this also was a pastime. We won't go too much into detail. This was already when they were banished to the forest. When the Pandavas were already banished to the forest. So they went through many difficulties. So one of those difficulties was this man-eaters and cannibals, and how Krishna's intervention in so many ways saved him. Then we have the Asat Sabhya, how Krishna saved the Pandavas from the vicious assembly. Remember the vicious assembly of the gambling match? How the Pandavas were brought in and forced to gamble, and then how they were forced to lose all their possessions, and eventually Draupadi herself was disrespected, and yet Krishna saved them. So she's remembering one by one all the different, and Vanavasa Krichrata. Vana means forest, Vasa means exile, Krichrata, all the miseries suffered in the exile to the forest. So you can see how the Pandavas had to go through, and this is one example of such miseries. How Duryodhana was constant. He wasn't satisfied just sending them to the forest. He was constantly trying to put them in different difficulties. And this is the picture of the Akshaya Patra, how the Durvasa Muni came, and Duryodhana made Durvasa Muni come here, so that hoping that Durvasa Muni will curse the Pandavas. And again, Krishna in split second came and saved all of them. So Kunti Maharani is remembering one by one all of these difficulties they had went through, and at each time Krishna was always with them. And then fast forward to the most recent time, the Mahabharata war. Kunti is saying, Mride Mride Aneka Maharatra Ashrata. Again and again, Mride means again and again you saved us. From what? Aneka, various different types of Maharata, the great generals, the great warriors like Bhishma, Drona, and so forth. And you saved us from their different great weapons, Ashrataha. There was you can see, if you read Mahabharata, you will see how the Narayana Ashtra was released, the Brahmastra was released, and in different times, Krishna actually intervened to save the Pandavas. And the most recent one that just happened, Drauni Ashrata, the son of Dronacharya, Drauni Ashrata, from the weapon of the son of Dronacharya, which is Ashwatthama, which was what we discussed recently in the previous chapter, the chapter before that, sorry. So again, Krishna is always there. So, how will you think if there was some person who was so wonderful in personality, who never wanted anything from you, who's always there with you, and who's always constantly saving you again and again? So Kunti Maharani was a lady, and ladies are known for soft-heartedness. This is one of the beauty of this is one of the lakshanams, so of womanhood, soft-heartedness. So Kunti Maharani, she was overwhelmed with affection for Krishna. Abhirakshitaha. So how Krishna totally, Abhirakshita means perfectly saved, perfectly given protection. How he perfectly given protection. So again and again, she's lost in compassion, lost in affection. And then she says, this is an important verse. Therefore she says, Vipada santu ta sasvat tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yat syad apunar bhava darshanam. So this is the famous verse by Kunti Maharani. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again. So this is a very advanced statement. So why is she saying this? So you can see the track of her mind. How her mind, she's overwhelmed with affection of how Krishna, each time difficulties come, we get special mercy of Krishna. We get special darshan of the Lord. We get special relationship with the Lord. And those special relationships are so sweet, are so memorable. They completely fill up my consciousness. So therefore, Queen Kunti prays like this. I hope that all these calamities would happen again and again, because she's overwhelmed with that sweetness that she doesn't consider the material difficulties at all. So this is the hallmark of a pure devotee. The pure devotee is, Prabhupada always says, the higher taste. When we taste that higher taste, we lose taste for all the lesser things already. And this is beyond taste. She's to the extent that she's even willing to tolerate miseries, because she doesn't see the misery already. She only sees the sweetness, how the sweetness completely eclipses the material aspect. So that's how bhakti is transcendental. So that's why, Prabhupada says, Adhyatmika is, you may say in the material world, Adhyatmika is compulsory. But misery is not compulsory. Misery is optional. Troubles are compulsory because this is a material world. There will be all kinds of troubles. But when you have the gem of devotional service, when your heart is suffused with devotional service, when your mind is saturated with bhava and devotion, you don't have room for these material miseries to disturb you. So this is why bhakti is very important. This is why all of us should really take up bhakti yoga so much, so that this is how it will protect us from all the miseries. Not by taking it away, but by eclipsing it. This is therefore a very beautiful verse. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. So it's very beautiful, this particular verse. So anyway, so then one may ask, calamities. What's the link? Why particularly calamities? Why can't I just see you again and again without calamities? Why do I have to invite calamities? Why can't I just say, let me think of you, full stop, right? Why must I say, let all these calamities come again and again? So therefore, Kunti Devi prays, Janmaishwarya Shruta Shribhir Edamana Madha Puman Naivarthati Abhidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. She says, oh Krishna, you are Akinchana Gocharam. Akinchana Gocharam. What does that mean? It means you are approached easily only by those who are materially exhausted. Because you are known as Akinchana Gocharam, therefore I am inviting calamities to come to me again and again. Right? And she's also saying, calamities basically to most people, it basically is Aishwarya, Shruta, Shribir. Beyond calamities, people generally having good janma, born in a very good birth, very aristocratic birth. People like to take pleasure with the fact that my lineage is so exalted. Did you know who my grandfather was? Did you know who my great grandmother was? So like that. And then Aishwarya, they take pleasure in their opulence. I have this much bank balance. They look at their bank balance and they feel reassured. Okay, and then they remember I have this many properties, and then they feel reassured. And then Shruta, there are some people who are very reassured by their learning. Oh, I have this much of knowledge. See how I am able to understand so many things. See how I command respect of people because of my knowledge or whatever. So people who have these things, and also Shri is beauty. A lot of people sometimes take pleasure with all this. So these things are madha, intoxicating. So therefore, Kunti says, one who is in the path of material progress, trying to improve himself. How is he trying to improve himself? By Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, and Shri, right? Cannot approach you. So you are disqualified. When I have these things, there is no misery for me. When I have Aishwarya, Janma, Shruta, and Shri, where is the misery? Where is it? Everything I have. So therefore, I cannot have that sincere feeling. That sincere feeling in my heart will not come because I am reassured. Why am I reassured? Because I am intoxicated. I am maddened. Madah. Because I am maddened by these things, therefore that feeling, that sincere feeling cannot come. Therefore, I cannot pray to you in that kind of mood. So that's why, Prabhupada tells us when we chant Hare Krishna, we should chant like how a child is calling out, crying to his mother. The child, the baby, he doesn't know Janma, he doesn't know Aishwarya, he doesn't know learning, he doesn't think he's beautiful also. Nothing he knows. All he knows is that one face that one face which I have seen from my birth, that one face which is constantly always giving me pleasure, always giving me whatever I need. So therefore, when that face is not there, when I'm going through trouble, when the baby is scared, when the baby is disturbed, she wants that one face only. So therefore he cries, "Oh, where are you?" So like that is the feeling that one has to develop. So therefore Kunti Maharani is saying, therefore give me calamities so that I can forget my Aishwarya, my Shruta, my Janma, my Shri. She is being humble. Kunti Maharani is a very top class devotee, because only top class devotees can say, give me miseries. Nobody else will dare to say this prayer. But she's being humble, and therefore she's appealing to the Lord. Basically what she wants is, she wants to see Krishna again and again in front of her eyes. You know, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me. Let you, oh Jagannath, be the vision of my eyes always. So basically that's what Kunti Maharani wants. And then she continues, Namo Akinchana Vittaya. She is not leaving. She's continuing with this same track. She says, oh Lord, not only you are Akinchana Gocharam, the property of the materially exhausted, you are also Akinchana Vittaya. You are the property of the materially impoverished. So completely exhausted. So this is another name she's using, Akinchana Vittaya. My obeisances are unto you. You have nothing to do with the action. And then she continues with the next points. You are completely, you are the supreme. You don't have to do anything. Your energies are doing all your work for you, right? So therefore, you don't have to go to Dwaraka. So, you know, Krishna may say, yeah, but I got work to do. I have to go to Dwaraka. I have something to do. So therefore, Kunti Maharani puts this, she reminds him, you are Nivrita Guna Vrittaye. You don't have any karma. You don't have any work. Everything is automatically done for you. Right? So therefore, she's trying to remind him, therefore stay with us. And Atma Ramaya Santaya. You are self-satisfied, and therefore you are the most gentle and a master of the monists. Kaivalya Pataye Namaha. So, therefore, I would like to quote what Prabhupada says here in his purport. Unless one is able to see everything as spiritual, one must distinguish between spirit and matter. So, this is very important. So, for us, we are not in the level of Kunti Maharani yet. So, therefore, we need to understand carefully what is spirit and what is matter. And you know, Prabhupada says material development and spiritual life go ill together. So we must understand what is material development and not become intoxicated, mada, by it, right? We cannot bring ourselves to ask Krishna, please give me miseries yet, but at least we can begin by differentiating matter and spirit clearly and understanding the danger of material development and understanding that this can all bring intoxication, and therefore this slowly, little by little, we have to learn to renounce. So this is part of what, so Prabhupada also says in the previous verse, I like to quote here, very nice quote, principles of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to more and more illusion about the aim of life. So he calls it a fever. This is a material, this is a fever, all of this Aishwarya, Janma, Shruti, and all these things. So therefore, continuing with Kunti Maharani's prayer, she goes on. So we are discussing the first part of Kunti Maharani's prayer, which was the darshan. So basically, she is asking for darshan. Let me see you. Please let your wonderful form be in front of my eyes. So therefore, she's talking about how he's Yogeshwara, how he is the fortune of the Ananya Bhaktas. Ananya means the pure devotees, unalloyed devotees. Therefore, she gives this famous prayer, right? Let calamities come again and again. And then she says, Achintya, you are inconceivable. So this is the part where we are going to discuss. Inconceivable now in Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 28. She's glorifying, she's continuing her glorification. She hasn't come to the other two aspects of her prayer yet. She's still continuing her glorification. Now she's saying, oh Lord, you are mysterious. You know, you're very mysterious in the sense that you are contradictory. So you are, before she goes to the contradictory part, she says, you are kalam, twam kalam. You are the time itself. So what does she mean by time? So there's very nice purport to this. If you have time, please read that particular purport. Prabhupada describes how he talks about destiny. How Krishna is actually the source of destiny. He comes as, when we say Krishna is time, we actually mean Krishna is destiny. You know, the Navagrahas, our karma and everything. So you can either accept Krishna as the beautiful form, or you can accept Krishna in the form of your inevitable destiny due to all your karmas. So there's a nice quote I'd like to say. Those who misuse freedom are put into miseries destined by Kala. So these are all, so we can understand this, our life is actually predestined. What do we mean by predestined? Predestined in terms of happiness and miseries. Okay, predestined in terms of happiness and misery. Not to say that we cannot do anything. There is small free will. So in that sense, it's not completely predestined. But where is the predestined? The predestination is in terms of happiness and miseries. That means no matter what you do in your life, your happiness and your quota of happiness and your quota of misery is already set at the time of conception. Not even at the time of birth. At the time of conception, when you are conceived in the womb of your mother, at that point, your quota of happiness and your quota of misery is already decided. This much only you will get happiness in this life. This much only you will get miseries in this life. So no matter what you do, this is much. But how those happiness and the miseries comes to you is your free will. So you can do there are certain things which you can do to get it. So, you know, you may work very hard and you may become a great learned person. You may get Janma, Aishwarya, Shruti, Sri. But yet, if you were destined with only this allotment of happiness, all of this Janma, Aishwarya, Shruti, Shri is not going to give you that particular happiness more. It's going to only remain within that quota only. So then all the energy which you have put in, right, is you instead of putting that energy in matter, one has uselessly wasted that energy in matter. One can instead put that energy in spiritual life. So this is Prabhupada's statements. So then there is these are the parts where she's talking about how the Lord is mysterious. So she calls him Kalam, you are time. And in Bhagavad Gita also says, I am the inevitable time, right? Which all devouring time, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, right? And then he says, she says, you are Ishanam, you are the controller. You're the controller of everything, right? And you are Anadi Nidanam. You are beginningless and you are endless. So there is no beginning and there is no end to you. And you are Vibhum. Vibhu means you are all pervading. Great. You are everywhere. And you are also Samam, Kripa. What do you mean by Samam? Samam means equal. And what do you mean by equal? Equal in terms of Kripa. Your mercy is to everyone and to everyone everywhere. So how do we understand this further? So this is further elaborated also in the next verse, which is verse 29. And we are still in the same theme of the Lord is mysterious. We continue, right? So Kunti Maharani is saying, you are bewildering. Your greatness is bewildering because you're contradicting. Your greatness is contradictory. your Divya Leelas appear to be human. At the same time, they're Divyam, right? And further, she talks how Krishna is Samam in his mercy in terms of favor and envy, right? And for this example, people only imagine that you are partial, but actually you're not partial. You are equal to everyone. And Kunti Maharani gives an example that when people say that you are partial to the devotees, you're partial to the suras and not to the asuras. Actually, no. It's just like the parent, you know. When the parent has children, the parent gives equal opportunity to all his children. He doesn't say, one child I'll give you more opportunity, one child I give you less opportunity. So in terms of opportunities, he is equal. It's unfortunate when one child takes up something and ruins it and causes unhappiness to the father, whereas the other child does something wonderful and causes great happiness to the father. So in that sense, there may be some partiality, right? But that partiality is deserving. It's not undeserving, because in the sense that when the child does something which pleases the father, naturally the father will be showering that mercy to that child, right? So in that sense, it's not undeserving mercy, because the child took the effort to please. So therefore, bhakti is the right way of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here we are summarizing basically the darshan part of Kunti Maharani's prayer. So the summary is, you are supreme, she's saying. And then she's saying, you are invisible due to the curtain of Maya. And then she's saying, you are known to the Paramahamsas. So this is glorification and who you are known to. But then she says, the bhaktas are even greater than the Paramahamsas. The bhaktas are most fortunate. Why they are most fortunate? Because they have bhakti, right? And then she says, I am more fortunate than even Devaki by your mercy, right? So she's telling how in different ways she has been fortunate, and she's linking all that fortune to calamities. So therefore, give me more calamities so I may continuously get your mercy again and again. And then she says, you are akinchana gocharam. Therefore, you are easily attainable by the materially exhausted. So, you know, in regards to this partiality and samam, the word samam, how Krishna is equal to the Lord, how Krishna is equal to everyone, whether the asuras or the devas, the bhaktas. So Prabhupada gives a nice example about the sun. So that's why I put the picture of the sun here, right? So this is described in the Bhagavatam. So, you know, just like how the sun, there are certain stones which actually capture the light of the sun. They are imbued by the energy of the sun. For example, rubies or sunstone. So here I'm putting a picture of a sunstone, right? So, you know, in astrology, if your sun is weak in your chart, you can wear ruby or you can wear sunstone, you know, to increase the favor of the sun. So like that. Of course, you have to see whether your sun is well positioned or not. But anyway, so how the sun is actually able, how the sunstones, how these gems are able to capture, positively harness the mercy of the sun. At the same time, we have, you know, blind people who, though the sun is shining, they are not able to take advantage of the sun's light. So there are some people who are blind. And at the same time, we also have certain types of birds, like it's described as the Chakravaka birds. These birds are actually special birds. They are existing. These are the birds. They are called Brahmani ducks. So what's so special about the Chakravaka birds? The Chakravaka birds, when the sun rises, they are extremely happy. They become so happy. And when the sun sets, they are lamenting. They lament and they cry piteously. So this is true. This is noted even in nature. It's mentioned in one scripture that previously these Chakravakya birds were humans and they were cursed by munis. Why they were cursed? Because I forgot why they were cursed. But anyway, the curse was that they were couples. These Chakravaka birds in their past life, they were couples. They were a couple, man and woman, and they were very loving to each other. Now I think I remember. They forgot their restrictions. Something like Nalakuvera and Manigriva behavior when Narada Muni came. They didn't restrict their affection with each other. So they were cursed. They were cursed that when the sun sets, you will be separated from each other, and the separation will be so painful to you. You will be crying throughout the night. And when the sun rises, then you will be able to meet again. So interestingly, in nature, these Chakravaka birds behave like that. They are always seen as a pair in daytime, but when night sets, when the sun sets, they separate. They don't stay in the same place, and they start shouting very piteously, making cries, piteous cries. And apparently, this is spread throughout their generation. Okay, and then just like how the sun. So therefore, the Chakravaka birds are so happy when the sun rises, but at the same time, the owl, this is the owl is not happy when the sun rises. Opposite. And the thieves and the rogues are also not happy when the sun rises. So you can imagine the owl, because the owl will lose its night vision and is disturbing its sleep, you know. And then the rogues, they cannot do their clandestine activities. So the point here is, the sun is shining equally to everyone, but it's all a matter of perspective, and it's all a matter of how one utilizes it. So, you know, make hay while the sun shines. So whether you make hay or you do something else, so it depends on your activity and your. So in that sense, the sun is equal. The sun gives equally. So the opportunities are given equally to everyone. Every soul has equal opportunity to actually take advantage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Krishna came in the assembly, there were so many devotees, you know, the Rajasuya sacrifice. Yudhishthira Maharaj was glorifying Krishna. All the other kings were all in agreement. When Yudhishthira Maharaj was glorifying Krishna is the greatest person, all the other kings from Bhishma Dev to who are the other kings? Anyway, there were other kings, Salya, and so many of them. They were all agreeing, yes, Krishna is the rightful person to receive the first portion of the Rajasuya sacrifice, because he's the greatest amongst all of us. But at the same time, we had people like what's his name? The one who got Shishupal, yeah. Shishupal and Dantavakra and Duryodhana, who were burning, and Sakuni and Karna, who were burning with envy. They didn't like it. So therefore, Krishna was there, present equally to everyone. So it depends on our reception. You can either take advantage of it, or you can scorn it and degrade down to ignominy. So, right, we have covered the darshan aspect. So this is the last part of the darshan aspect. So first, we talked about Yogeshvara, fortune of Ananya Bhaktas, the Achintya, the inconceivable nature. So the inconceivable nature here is described here as the mysteriousness of the Lord, and how his leelas are bewildering, and how he has bewildering contradictory qualities. You know, Kurti Maharani is saying, you are Aja, you are unborn, but yet you take Janma Karma Chami Divyam, but you are unborn, Aja, right? And then Kunti says, you are Akartu, you don't have any karma, you don't have any activities, right? Yet you are Atmana, sorry, you do so many activities, you apparently do them, but yet you are Atmanaha. That means you are, all your energies do it. You are like, just like how you create this material universe. Just by glancing, the entire, just by glancing at the Pradhan, then the entire material manifestation, right, is manifested, becomes the Mahatattva, and then from there, the entire universes were created, right? Just by that. You don't have to do anything. Your energies are working on your own, right? And you are Vishwa Atman. You are the soul of the entire universe. The entire universe exists because of you, this one soul. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, you know, all the planets, all the entire world, just like how pearls are strung in a thread, right? And you are that thread, you are that soul of the entire universe. And yet, you descend amongst all your created beings, as if you are like one of us. So she says, you descend amongst the Tiryak, the animals, amongst the Nara means humans, among the Rishis, and among the Yadasus. The Yadasus means the aquatics, the water creatures. So you descend amongst all of us as if you were created, as if you took Janma, and therefore you are bewildering the monists. So Kunti Maharani prays in this way. So these are basically the first aspect of her prayers, the darshan aspect of her prayers. Let me see, we have time. Oh, it's already 8:20. So these are the summary of all of that. I'll just go a bit more. Then she goes on to higher gear. Kunti Maharani's prayers goes to higher gear. She is now talking more in more confidentially. It's a very nice verse. Gopiya dade tvayi kratagasi damatavat yate dashashru kalilanjana sambramaksham vaktram niniya bhavavanas tasya sama vimohayati bhirapi yadbibeti. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope. You know, I just described to you that you are bewildering, you are unborn, you are mysterious, you have so many wonderful, inconceivable qualities, and the very height of your inconceivability is described in this verse. This is the Damodarashtakam verse, right? This is the verse which describes the Damodar Lila. You know, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears. Oh my, who can you imagine the Supreme Lord with tears? You know, Prabhupada, whenever the artists, you know, like Jadurani and so many other artists, whenever the artist wants to make a painting, Prabhupada is always very strict. He's very careful. He wants to ensure that they capture the mood or the image of Krishna. And one of the instructions was Krishna should never be shown as lamenting. So there was one artist who actually painted when, you know, that's the pastime when Radharani disappeared. Sorry, no, not Radharani disappeared. When Radharani was there was a pastime when Krishna and Radharani were together, and then Radharani had to leave or something. And this artist wanted to draw Krishna slightly sad or melancholy, you know, because she lost Radharani. But Prabhupada told, no, you cannot paint Krishna like that. Krishna is always Sachit Ananda Vigraha. He is always blissful. You cannot draw him that way. So he is the ultimate renouncer. So, but then, you know, they will argue, but you know, it's Radharani. So we want to portray that mood that he has that bhava towards Radharani. But no, Prabhupada always said you cannot portray Krishna in that way. But there is an exception. The one exception Krishna gave was, Prabhupada gave, was to portray Krishna in this form, crying. So perturbed, overflowed with tears. This is one of the few, in fact, this is the only time we will ever see Krishna crying. And Krishna scared. No other time you will see that. So, and you were afraid. Though fear personified is afraid of you. Bewildering. Right? So, basically Kunti Maharani is glorifying. I'm more fortunate than Devaki, but even more fortunate than me is Yashoda. You actually, the type of sweetness that you depicted to Yashoda, you awarded this kind of beautiful pastimes to Yashoda Mai. So Yashoda Mai didn't understand how great you were, and yet, and this was the type of devotion which actually tied you. So Kunti Maharani is trying to tie Krishna. Kunti Maharani wants to keep Krishna in with them. She doesn't want him to go to Dwaraka, but she couldn't really. You will see. Whereas Mother Yashoda could easily bind Krishna just like that. So what's the difference? This is the difference of even greater devotees, of how Yoga Maya their devotion is so. The Prabhupada describes. You can read this particular purport. It's very nice. Verse 31 also. He appears in the Yadu dynasty to please the great devotees like Yadava. He's known as Yadava. He's known as Yaduvira and all that, you know. But nevertheless, he is always Yashodanandan. He is more pleased to be known as Yashodanandan than Devaki Nandan. So this is the speciality of the Amala Bhaktas, who view the Lord with such great devotion that they completely forget that he's great. So Prabhupada describes that this devotion is where you come to a point where you think that Krishna is actually in need of my seva, in need of it. He needs my protection. He needs my seva. So this is special in Vatsalya Rasa. You don't find this in Sakya. You don't find this in Dasya. So therefore, Vatsalya Rasa is glorified. So therefore, these are the summary of the darshan aspect of the Lord. Looks like we don't have too much time. It's already 8:25. We have here the Lord. The next aspect of Kunti Maharani's prayers is the Lord descends. She talks about how the Lord descends. So she's saying there are, I'll just quick, I think this part will not be too long. Let me just see if I can finish this second part of it. The Lord descends due to several reasons. So Kunti Maharani is praying. So she's basically categorizing this as two parts. One is secondary reason, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he states that the primary reason is stated in these verses. So, you know, one of the reasons the Lord descended is due to the prayers of the devotees, and another reason is to glorify the pious kings. So here's a picture of Maharaj Yudhishthira Maharaj, right? So the verse here in the secondary reason in 1.832, Punya Slokasya Kirtaye. So you descend for the glorification of pious kings. Who are these pious kings? Like Yudhishthira Maharaj, Yadu Maharaj. So Yadu Maharaj is the head of the Yadu dynasty. So Yadu Priya Svanyavaye. You take birth in their lineage. But just like, you know, just like how the sun rises in the east, do we say the sun is born out of the east? No. The sun rises in the east is and therefore the east is glorified. The east is glorified because the sun rises, but yet the sun doesn't belong to the east. The sun is independent, but because it rises from the east, he is glorified. So Kunti Maharani prays, you come in our families simply for glorification of these pious kings. Just like how sandalwood is grown in the Malaya hills. So, you know, just like the example of the sun, the sandalwood and Malaya hills are known simultaneously. They become synonymous. So if you say sandalwood, immediately the Malaya hills will come into mind. They were that famous at that particular point of time. The Malaya hills were so famous for sandalwood trees. So as soon as someone, just like when we say Puri, we remember Jagannath, right? So like that, just by you taking birth in that kula, you are glorifying the saintly kings. And another reason which you descend, some people say you descend because of the prayers of devotees, of the prayer of Devaki, of prayer of Vasudev, right? So yes, it is in answer to the prayers of Vasudev and Devaki, Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito, right? And it is also due to the prayers of Lord Brahma, because Lord Brahma, he prays, right? This is the verse 1833. So he says, he says, Atma Bhuvartitaha. So Atma Bhu is Brahma. So why he's called Atma Bhu? He's called Atma Bhu because he is born without a mother. He is directly born from his father, which is Narayana, right? So he didn't have to be placed inside a womb. Directly he came from the lotus born. So therefore he's called Atma Bhu. So due to the prayers of Lord Brahma, you came. For what reason? So the reasons are to protect Asya Kshemaya, to protect the Suras. You want to protect those devotees, and you also want to kill. So to protect, to kill. So Vadaya Chasura, so Asura Visham, to kill the Asuras, to those who are abandoning Dharma. So you know we have this verse also in the Bhagavad Gita, right? There is the Paritrayanam Sadhunam, right? That particular verse. I come every yuge to kill the to re-establish religion, to kill the asuras and to protect my devotees. But the main primary reason is basically to save the conditioned souls. So Lord Krishna didn't have to come himself to actually establish Dharma. Yes, you can. That's one of the, he likes to establish not simple Dharma. You don't have to come on his own. The Lord doesn't have to come just to establish simple Dharma, right? But to establish transcendental Dharma, for devotion, he comes. And what is that main purpose? The main purpose of that devotion is to save the conditioned souls. So that is his first reason, actually. This is his kripa, his compassion. Because the father doesn't want the children to suffer in the material world. So, you know, people will say, how is this? God is so cruel. He lets us be in this material world. And then he is not even turning his eye towards us. Actually, that's not true. He is coming in because, you know, in order for there to have loving reciprocation, you cannot force love. So the Supreme Lord does not force love. So what he does instead, he comes to save in different ways, because the souls are recalcitrant. They are very, they want to have their independence. They want to enjoy on their own. They are insubordinate. So what to do? He doesn't want to force them. It's not his wish. He wants to punish them. He doesn't want to punish them. The conditioned souls are punished by their own activities, which later Kunti Maharani will explain, right? So to save the suffering of the conditioned souls, he comes. Why is it he has to come? Why is it he only has to come? Because the only way the suffering souls can be saved is if they develop bhakti. And how can they develop bhakti? The only way they can develop bhakti is if they can hear about him, if they can see his beautiful pastimes. Then all the anarthas will be destroyed in their heart, and they will develop attraction to the Supreme Lord. The moment they develop attraction to the Supreme Lord, then that's it. They are already on the road for safety already. And you know, Krishna therefore has to personally come. Then only we will know about his pastimes, because he will show by his own example, right? So, so therefore, due to the suffering of the conditioned souls, why are they suffering? They are suffering due to karma, kama, and avidya. So the souls, It's not due to Krishna punishing them. It's not due to Devas punishing them. It's not due to the Navagrahas punishing them. No, these are all just indicative. The Navagrahas and the Devas, basically, they are simply executing the karma. That's all. So, you cannot say that the prison guard is the one who's punishing the inmates of the prison. They are simply doing their duty. Due to your karma, your activity, you landed yourself in prison. So if somebody is beating you with the stake or trying to poke you or something like that, you cannot say that you are the cause of the punishment. It's simply your own karma. So due to past birth activities, the moment one particular karma is activated, karma is very dangerous, because you do one activity, you do not know how that one activity is catching you in different ropes. It's just like a ripple in the pond. You take a stone and you throw in the pond, it produces many ripples, and these ripples will intersect with each other. It becomes very complicated. For example, just by you doing something, one activity, you may be killing animals, you may be killing different things. Somebody else may be put in. It's just like this. The nature of this material world is one man's gain is another man's loss, right? It's always, and every creature survives by eating another creature. Even we eat plants, right? So our gain, we may relish, wow, what a wonderfully tasty broccoli this is. But that broccoli pakora, that broccoli died. So to that broccoli, it's the end of its life. Oh my God, I'm killed because this person wants to eat me. So we do not know. Therefore, it's called a network of actions and reactions which trap us. It's like a net. It's like quicksand. The moment we step on it, we are dragged in. But karma is one thing, action. So when we have ignorance, the karma is exacerbated. It becomes even more pronounced because we do not know what is right, what is wrong. When we do the right activity, we suffer more. When we do the right activity, we are also trapped in karma because we are not doing transcendental activity. We are doing right activity. So it's good, yes, but it traps you still. Nevertheless, you have to still be there to receive the palan. You have to receive the palan. So therefore, one palan will lead to another palan, and these are all enmeshing, trapping. And why are we doing these activities? The root of this activity is kama, lust or desire. So when we have desire, we act. And due to ignorance, we act wrongly or rightly. We don't act transcendentally. So therefore, we are sinking into this material ocean. So that is the conditioned soul's problem. So how can Krishna save? How can Krishna save you? Why Krishna has to descend? How is this done? He descends. Therefore, the primary reason explained by the acharyas of why Krishna descends is because he wants to save the souls. Of course, in an esoteric term, the primary reason is also for giving pleasure to his pure devotees, because there are always pure devotees on the planet, and therefore he descends to give pleasure to them. But you can consider that as an internal reason, right? So we are dealing here with more of an external reason. So the main reason for the external reason would be to rejuvenate bhakti. So just like how Lord Chaitanya came, right? He had internal reasons and he had external reasons. And one of the main external reason is to begin this congregational Sankirtan movement. So how does he rejuvenate this bhakti? By Shravana, Smarana, Arhana. Arhana is like worship. So therefore, these are, and so forth, etc. So basically, it's enumerating the 9 processes of bhakti. So it's very similar to the Bhagavad Gita verse 4.8. This is the one I mentioned just now. Paritranaya sadhunam vinasasya cha duskritam dharma samsthapakanataya. So dharma here can refer to material dharma. It can also refer to the transcendental dharma. So for material dharma, he doesn't have to come personally. He can send his Satyavesh avatars. He can even send other devas and all that to establish dharma. Sometimes he comes and then dharma is automatically addressed, yes. But mainly he's talking about transcendental dharma, which is the rejuvenation of bhakti through these processes. He wants to give a preview so that the fallen conditioned souls are enamored, they get attracted, and we can, and therefore begin our road back to Godhead. So just a little bit more, I will finish. Shravanti, Gayanti, Grinanti. This is a very nice verse. We can try to memorize this. What this verse is saying is, O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. So you see, this is the main reason. So that the devotees or the living entities can take advantage of his lotus feet. So you can read the purport. Prabhupada talks more about the science of the lotus feet, how you have, the various flag, the thunderbolt, the umbrella, the lotus, the chakra, and all that. So the main point is, when the lotus feet of the Lord touches the earth is sanctified. It becomes tirtha. There are so many tirthas which are all act as liberating stations. These are all stations. If you want to get liberated, you go to these stations, the tirthas, right? And on top of that, he brings his own dham. So we have Dwaraka Dham, Puri Dham, we have Mayapur Dham, we have Vrindavan Dham. So these are transcendental abodes, right? So that the fallen living entities can take advantage of these things. And not just take advantage, but take pleasure, right? So this is the main purpose, therefore, of Krishna. So there is, therefore, the word Padam Bhujam is very significant here, right? And the word Smaranti. So you have to remember. So how do we remember Krishna? We cannot hope to remember Krishna if we don't hear about Krishna. How are we going to remember Krishna if we don't hear about him? Because remembrance simply means understanding and good, like how Kunti Maharani could remember. So she had an advantage of calamities. So she used calamities as an excuse to remember Krishna. So therefore, similarly, we can all also do the same. We all have our own calamities. We can all, so it's like COVID-19 is there. So how do we use this time to utilize it in spiritual life? So we can always remember it as a time when we really heard so much more. We really went deeper into scripture reading so much more. We cooked so much more prasadam. We worshipped and chanted so much more at home. We engaged our family members together to chant. So, these are the ways we can always remember our adversities. So each of our adversities are actually opportunities for us to progress to the next level in devotional service. So it's always a test whether we take it progressively or not. So we will end here. The other parts here are very sweet. The Saranagati aspect is very sweet. So we'd like to take some time to talk about it. So don't want to rush this part. So the preliminary aspects are all covered here in Kunti Maharani's prayers. So we have talked about the Samprarthanatmika, very feelingly offering prayers. So all of this section is covered. So we have covered the part where Kunti Maharani is glorifying. Oh Krishna, you're so great, you're so wonderful, you're this, you're that. So glorification is done. So the next section of Kunti Maharani's prayer comes the sweet humility and the Saranagati, the surrender of Kunti Maharani. How she is so surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So she's expressing herself. She's expressing her humble situation. So it's very sweet and it's very nice. We can also try to learn a lot from this. So that we will try to do in the next aspect of Srimad Bhagavatam class. And of course, it ends with the prayer. Right. So we can stop here. Were there any questions?